Hello everyone. Today, I am going to discuss my chosen topic, which is the 10 basic hand stitches. At the end of this video, all of you will be able to get more knowledge about on how to do it exactly, properly, the 10 basic hand embroidery stitches. I am preparing also an example each of the 10 basic hand embroidery stitches. I gathered also a video tutorial from the internet, specifically in YouTube, about the 10 basic hand embroidery stitches. It is just a short video, but I know you will gain technique, strategy, and information from it. These are the 10 basic hand embroidery stitches: running stitch, back stitch, split stitch, stem stitch, French knots or French knot stitch, chain stitch, feather stitch, satin stitch, lazy daisy stitch, and seed stitch. Running stitch is the basic stitch in hand sewing and embroidery, on which all other forms of sewing are based. The stitch is worked by passing the needle in and out of the fabric of a regular distance.
Here's an example video tutorial about on how to do the running stitch.
Back stitch is a stitch made by inserting the needle at the midpoint of a preceding stitch so that the stitches overlap by half length on the back of the fabric and appear continuous in the front.
Here's a video tutorial about on how to do the back stitch.
Split stitch is a form of back stitch in which the needle comes up through the strands of the previous stitch.
Here's an example of a video tutorial about on how to do the split stitch.
Stem stitch is an embroidery stitch forming a continuous line of long, overlap stitches typically used to represent narrow stems.
Here's an example of a video tutorial about on how to do the stem stitch.
French knot or French knot stitch is a decorative stitch made by winding the thread one or more times around the needle and drawing the needle back through the material at the point where it came out.
Here's an example about the video tutorial on how to do the French knots or the French knot stitch.
Chain stitch is an ornamental stitch in which loops of thread are embroidered or connected like the links of a chain.
Here's an example of a video tutorial about on how to do the chain stitch.
Feather stitch. It is an ornamental zigzag sewing from right to left of a central rib, but it depends to a person whether he or she is right-handed or left-handed.
Here is an example of a video tutorial about on how to do the feather stitch.
Satin stitch. A long straight embroidery stitch closely placed parallel to similar stitches, giving the appearance of satin.
Here's an example of a video tutorial about on how to do the satin stitch.
Lazy daisy stitch. It is an embroidery stitch in the form of a flower petal.
Here is an example of a video tutorial on how to do the lazy daisy stitch.
Seed stitch. It is simply a series of straight stitches that are even in size and evenly spaced apart but going in random directions.
Here's a short clip of a video tutorial about on how to do the seed stitch.
By the way, I am Charmaine Mutya Aboga-a from BTL Ed IA3A. Thank you for watching!